Hi friends, this is Kayla with Stamping Before Anything Else. Today we are going to be making this really quick and easy card. This is really good for those of you who are beginner stampers and want to figure out and practice the layout of a basic card. So let's get started. What you're going to need to make a card is a stamp set and some ink. So I'm using the Something Fancy stamp set. I really like this because you can just have the designer series paper, the pattern paper talk for itself. So I'm specifically going to be using the Nothing Fancy, Just Love sentiment. And then actually, instead of doing it in this color, we're going to switch it up. And I'm going to use Peach Pie instead of the Petunia Pop. So this is all of the same designer series paper. This is called the Unbounded Beauty designer series paper, and I'm going to show you how you just take one layout and redesign it basically using the same stuff. So you'll need that. You'll need the Peach Pie ink, which is what I'm going to use, some basic white cardstock, obviously the designer series paper, your trimmer, and some glue and some scissors, and that should be it. So starting off with our card base, I have a thick basic white cardstock because thick basic white cardstock is going to actually help you have a sturdier card base, whereas if you don't use the thick one, it's going to be a little bit more flimsy. So just giving you that heads up. If you don't care, that's okay too. You got to work with what you got. So our card base is 11 inches by 8.5. So 8.5 is the shorter side. I'm putting 8.5 up at the top. We are going to line it up to 4 1/4. And then we are going to cut it in half. Okay, so you could get 2 card bases out of one piece of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. So now that we have that done, I'm going to put the 11-inch side at the top. I'm going to move my trimmer blade down because we're not going to cut anymore. And we are going to score at 5.5 inches. So just go over that a couple times, and then you have a score line that you could just fold in half, and there you have your basic card. Okay, so there's that. We are going to cut our bases and our designer series paper. So for this, we are going to cut our Peach Pie designer series paper at 4 inches, and then we are going to cut it at 5 1/4. So that should be the front of our card like that. There's our first layer. Then I'm going to take our other pattern, and we are going to cut this down to 3 inches. So I'm going to line that up at 3 inches. And we're going to rotate it and cut it at 3 inches on the other side. Okay, so we have all of that done. So it should look something like that. Then to get the layer behind our 3x3 piece, we're just going to add 1/4 inch to the size. So it's going to be 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. So I'm bringing some basic white cardstock in. We're going to line it up at 3 1/4. Cut it, rotate it, and cut that at 3 1/4. So this is what that should look like once it's all done. So we are done cutting with our trimmer. So I'm going to put that to the side. I'm going to bring in a piece of basic white cardstock, my sentiment, and my ink that I am using. If you don't know what color ink to use, you can always look at the designer series paper, and it's going to tell you what kind of ink or colors are in there. So I have my Peach Pie. Gently stamp my stamp in it. We're going to stamp that firmly, but also gently on the basic white cardstock. Lift it up, and there is our sentiment. Now I'm just going to fussy cut this out using some scissors. So this is what it looks like once it's all done. Now we're ready to adhere everything all together. So bringing my liquid glue in, we are going to actually, you could take your bone folder if you have one, or just something hard and give your card base a crease. This is gonna help it stay closed and it won't pop open. So now I'm gonna take my glue. Ooh, this would be pretty too. Adding that on there. Well, duh, you know why? Because that's what I did in the original one, is I used that pattern, but I did switch it up on the front. So anyway, adding our peach pie DSP to the front. We're gonna take our 3x3 DSP and we're gonna add that to the basic white. We're gonna use that and put that on the front of the card with some glue. Now when I adhere this, I wanna make sure I'm putting it in the middle from left to right. I wanna put it in the middle, but I want it closer to the top of my card base. Now we can put our sentiment on with glue. If this was Mom, I know she would be using dimensionals right now, and that's just gonna add a little extra layer to your sentiment to help it pop open. But if you don't have that, it's okay. You can just add some glue and you are done with your card. Now, if you really want to dress this card up, that's where you want to add some rhinestones, maybe some ribbon, tie a bow or a knot and add that onto the front of your card, and it's going to really elevate it to the next level. So I really hope you enjoyed this card tutorial, and if you did, make sure you give this video a thumbs up and to subscribe to our channel for more projects like this. And if you want 5 free card making tutorials, make sure you join our newsletter. You can find the link to join below. Thanks everyone.